So let's talk some Browns. So Andrew Berry spoke to the media yesterday. Kevin Stefanski's talking today. I don't know. I think 1 o'clock maybe.
1:15.
So we won't be able to respond to that, but obviously tomorrow's show you'll have that. Andrew Berry had some interesting comments. We talked a little bit about Travis Hunter yesterday, right? Did we talk about it?
We did for overtime.
Was it in overtime?
But I know Ant wanted to start with the Harold Landry and how that affects what Andrew Berry said in terms of the
unlike Mike, I'm not looking at my phone during the show.
I sent it in the rundown
I
last night.
have an iPad. I don't even need a phone today.
Mike's like Jason on his phone. Ugh. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see that text. I haven't been looking at my phone. Go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. So we're going to start here where Andrew Berry said that they were very open to trading and like a lot of activity and movement on draft day. Mike sent me this tweet later. I'll take this full here. Mike, you want to explain how you think this could affect the Browns on draft day?
Well, yeah.
I saw this. The Titans have agreed that they would let Harold Landry look for a trade.
And I saw some people start to connect the dots, meaning, well, why would they potentially let one of their better, he's 28 years old, let him seek a trade? And one of the thought processes could be, well, we're going to draft Abdul Carter number 1, and if we're going to draft Abdul Carter number 1, he has a $24 million cap hit each of the next 2 seasons as he turns 29 and 30. Do we want to be paying someone that much money when we have his replacement in-house? So, Bull, is there a chance that if they trade Harold Landry, that signifies the Titans would take Abdul Carter number 1, leaving both quarterbacks on the board for the Browns at number 2?
I mean, it could be, but I don't think that means anything. He's an older player. He's a good player. They suck. And the Titans are saying, like we've maybe suggested the Browns should, although they don't seem to be looking at it that way. They're saying, yeah, we got this good player. I mean, he's not Myles Garrett, obviously, but he's a good player. But why are we going to pay him a ton of money at 29 years old when we stink right now? So that's why they could get something in return for a contending team. Like, again, not getting the package that you get for Myles Garrett.
It's a solid player.
They could get something of legitimate value for Landry. And so I don't think there's anything to do necessarily with them drafting Carter first overall. I just think this is about where they are in development and what because they want more draft picks. You know, they're in the same boat as the Browns, except they're not stuck with a Deshaun Watson contract, but they're lacking talent. They have no quarterback. And so, I don't think that. Do you read this as to have any, as a thought that they're going to draft Carter because of this?
You and I lately have been on the same page with everything, which is a little alarming, to be honest with you. But no, I'm with you. They're a bad team.
Yeah.
He's an awesome player.
Yeah.
Who's going to make a ton of money. Like, you don't need him right now.
Yeah, why am I paying this guy all that money?
I mean, obviously you need good players, but I mean, he's not going to help them win right now. We had the Defensive Player of the Year last year and won 3 games.
That's
right. They're probably like, hey, look what Cleveland did last year. Like, we're going to be worse than them this year.
Right.
We don't need Landry. I think it's just a money situation. Carter could end up there for sure too.
Yeah, I mean he might, but I don't think this.
It doesn't definitely signify that, and they still need a quarterback, dude. So like, I don't know. It's a money thing to me.
They saved $17 million as a post June 1st cut, or if he gets traded.
Okay.
So that's a big chunk of change.
Unlike Myles Garrett, where it actually hurts the cap.
No, it helps the Tennessee.
It hurts the cap.
It helps Tennessee. Yeah.
Browns cap wise. Yeah. This would help Tennessee.
Yes. So I'm with you guys. I don't think it necessarily means anything.
Yeah.
Because of this, they are definitely going to draft Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
But I want to get optimistic about something because there's not a lot to be hopeful about for the Browns at the moment.
Yeah.
This would be an incredible feat if this did lead to both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders being available at number 2, which mock drafts mean nothing. I'm not saying I'm putting any too much stock into anyone, but all the mocks in the last couple of days do have Abdul Carter going 1, and then Cam Ward has now become the prohibitive favorite. Yeah. So I'm trying to manifest it into reality here.
I certainly could be wrong, but I don't buy in any way that it's not going to be a quarterback going 1. Even if the Titans are convinced that, let's say the Titans think both these quarterbacks stink and they don't want to draft a quarterback.
They'll trade back and someone
will. There's
yeah.
going to be a team that's going to want to trade up. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe none of these teams think these guys are any good. But in the top 9 picks, I believe, there's 6 teams. Do we have 6 through 10 in the draft, Anthony, up here?
No, but I can tell you who they are.
So you got Tennessee needs a quarterback, the Browns need a quarterback, the Giants need a quarterback. You got the Jets, you got the Saints,
and the
you got the Raiders. All picking in the top 9, I believe.
Yep.
So 6 of the top 9 teams need a quarterback. Are you telling me there's not at least 2 of those 6 that don't think these guys are potential franchise quarterbacks? I think that's highly unlikely. So I think Tennessee's either going to take one of the quarterbacks or trade down for a team that's going to take one of the quarterbacks. So if the Browns only like one, let's say they only like Cam Ward and they're lukewarm on Shedeur, I don't think they can just sit at 2 and get the guy they want for sure. Because I think a quarterback's going to go 1. And by the way, all this stuff about Abdul Carter being a sure thing, everybody likes to say sure thing about non-quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And the only reason people say that is because when defensive linemen and offensive linemen bust, it doesn't become a big story unless it's our team. If the Titans draft a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman with the first overall pick in the draft, maybe first overall pick, but with a high first pick, 5 years from now, the guy's a bust. We're not talking about it here. Who cares about the Titans? If it's a quarterback with the Titans, we would know it because we pay attention to the quarterbacks. But that's why people think it's safer. But let me just say this about Abdul Carter. And I don't know enough about him. Maybe he's going to be the next great player. He's only done it 1 year in college.
At that position. He was a good linebacker before he went to an edge.
He wasn't being talked about as the first overall pick in the draft.
Well, he played a totally different position, though.
I understand.
You're
he's
right,
played at this level for 1 year.
That's fair.
Don't tell me he's a sure thing.
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, the sure thing's, it's silly.
It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, the safe pick.
Yeah, the safe pick.
I remember Solomon Thomas.
Yeah.
That year that was supposed to be the safe pick.
That's right.
And Jonathan Cooper, the guard out of UNC that Arizona took 7th or 8th, and was like, yeah, he's a really good player as a guard.
Yeah.
This guy's going to step in tomorrow and be a Pro Bowl guard for the next 20. And he was gone in 3 years. Mm-hmm. Like, you feel better about certain positions than others, but safe pick does not exist. That is a complete myth that any position is safe compared to others.
I could understand before there was like this, whatever they call it, I can't remember. Like there's essentially a salary cap on the draft picks, right? You know they're slotted in. Pre those days, right? The last big paid quarterback, I believe, was Sam Bradford.
Yep.
When he was first overall, got a ton of money.
2009.
In those days, okay, you had to pay more for the quarterbacks. So if the quarterback busted, you weren't really going to draft a quarterback. You were going to be more patient. You couldn't draft another quarterback right away and pay another quarterback.
Yeah.
But now, when it's irrelevant if it's a quarterback or a defensive lineman, within a small amount of money, it doesn't matter. They're all worth the same. It's based on the draft slot, basically. That's why we don't have holdouts anymore. There's no higher risk. I don't buy it. That there's more risk. You're if you trust the guys making the decision, when you draft a player, it's an educated guess. That's what it is. There's no guarantee on any player. It's an educated guess. And the better your coaching staff, scouting staff, front office is, the better the educated guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has much to do with position.
I agree.
So, all right, now we'll transition to some of the stuff that Andrew Berry said. Let's stick with the draft for a minute and the Travis Hunter. We talked about it in overtime. I know Dustin likes the idea of him playing corner with playing some on offense. Tyvis
limited snaps on offense, but not just like 5 snaps. Sometimes like 20
right, but
snaps.
His starting position essentially being corner. Tyvis, I know, agrees with that. Andrew Berry said, now, we don't know that the Browns are going to draft him, and I don't think the fact that he talked about it means the Browns are going to draft him. If anything, it more likely means the opposite, because he's trying to make people think they're not interested in the quarterback or whatever. But he said that he thinks he's going to be a primary offensive
receiver,
player.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I
get what he's saying in terms of you want him to have the ball in his hands. Did Andrew Berry actually use the word unicorn?
Yes.
He did.
He did. And he said his superpower is his playmaking, and he'd rather have him get the ball 100 times as a receiver than
right.
And he used this number 30 times at a good point as a defensive back and return specialist. But I got to defer to Tyvis and Dustin on this one. You guys said it's way easier because the technique as a defensive back is so tough. It is way easier to hammer that and fine-tune that and then just go be a playmaker on offense as opposed to fine-tuning your receiving skills and then just go run out as a defensive back here or there and be able to keep up with all the concepts in the defensive room and the coverages and all that. And I'm going to defer to you guys. You played at a much higher level than me.
I just think playing corner is one of the easier positions to play when it comes from a mental standpoint. You don't have to necessarily think as much as you are just reacting to the obviously the player that you're defending, whether it's man coverage, zone coverage, things like that. But like you don't have to know all the schemes of the offense.
So it wouldn't be as hard.
I personally, I mean, I saw it firsthand when we put Chris Gamble in on defense, and we just said, like, basically gave him 2 hand signals,
right?
And he was good, and he was a receiver, the whole time. Put him on defense, didn't really teach him squat, other than like, dude, can you just go cover that guy?
Right. And he was just a great enough athlete.
Piece of cake,
And Travis Hunter's a great athlete.
Yeah, I think the offense requires a little bit more to learn. Now, if we were talking about him playing a safety or linebacker or a position that was more cerebral, different story. You're going to have to put more time into it. I don't think so at corner.
So then maybe it does make sense for him to play wide receiver primarily and then play some at corner. Maybe you put him out there on third downs, big spots in the game, whatever it may be.
Listen, they can decide. A team can decide whatever they want to do with where they want to primarily put him.
Yeah.
It could be offense, it could be defense. But the number one thing you're not going to do is play the guy basically completely the same amount of time on both sides of the football.
No,
he just can't. He did it in college, like 120, 130 snaps in some games.
Right.
You can't do that in the league.
Not in the NFL. Plus, you want to use him on special teams a little too. So
the player will die on the field.
Yeah.
From a physical standpoint, Dustin, over the course of a 17-game season, which position do you think takes a bigger toll from a physical standpoint, being a receiver or being a cornerback?
Boy, it's hard to say. Both positions sort of are like hit or miss in terms of how active you are going to be. If you're playing corner, okay, are you playing to the boundary side, playing to the field side? It's not as big a deal in pros as in college, but like, are you going to be involved in a lot more tackles as a corner?
Right, yeah.
Okay, or are you going to be involved in a game plan where they're going to attack you? So you got to make some plays, and they're running go balls on you, so you're sprinting your butt off. Or same thing goes for offense. How many times are you getting targeted? Are they putting you out there just to throw you the ball, or do you have to go out there and block a little bit too? Which I think you probably have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an elite corner, I feel like there was a time, Dion and Darryl Green maybe, where you might avoid throwing at a guy like that. But like, if Travis Hunter, let's say he's an elite corner, but if you're playing Justin Jefferson, if you're playing Jamar Chase, you're playing A.J. Brown, those type, like, they're not going to just not throw to you. You feed those guys the ball. So, Travis Hunter, if he's an elite corner, well, he's guarding all those guys.
Which means
he's going to have to make a lot of plays.
Yeah, and he also may be a little bit tired to go on offense, right? I mean, if he's out there and you're saying, hey, whole game, you got JJ. The entire game?
Right.
Man, I think that'd take a lot out of you.
You need, he's got to be with the right coach, because this is a delicate balance that they got to find for how they use him. What do you guys think he's going to run? What's the all-time record now? Did he get broken again last year?
4.2 flat, man.
Xavier Worthy ran a 4.24 or 4.23 last year to set the record.
Can he break it, do we think, or no? He's not quite that fast.
Dude, I don't know. That speed is just absolutely insane. At some point, that's it. Like, how much faster can you get?
It's still 40 yards, no matter where you start. It's 40 yards.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's
basically
10 yards per second.
I can't think of the name of that great
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
What does he run?
Well,
they don't run a 40-yard dash.
No, he runs the 100-meter dash, and
what do you think he would run in a 40?
They've done some things. It was in the 4.1s, I think.
Yeah, and
it was a 4.22.
4.22.
Xavier Worthy.
No, that was Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
Oh.
But Bolt was never the fastest starter, though.
Yeah,
he had the long strides.
The 100 meters actually helped him, and he was really good at the 200 as well.
He was even better at the 200, wasn't he? Yeah. So I don't know.
If he trained specifically for a 40-yard dash, he'd probably get better. I mean, probably go under a 4.2 eventually, maybe.
Probably just because he's the fastest human ever, but like, he didn't have a great start.
He had the long strides, which has ended up
right.
Probably to be like
but
the
it's not something
40.
he's ever needed to work on, because he's not running a 40-yard dash.
No.
You wonder if he had to work, but it doesn't matter. You had a question for Dustin. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dustin, if Travis Hunter plays primarily wide receiver, Tyvis brought up the problem of getting in rhythm as a cornerback. Like, what does that kind of play into? I want your opinion on getting into that rhythm.
No, rhythm's very important as a player. And obviously I played the position. I would not have felt comfortable going out there, for spot duty. I mean, that's one of the toughest things. And I do that a little bit as a freshman at Ohio State, where I was forced into action and would come on the field, go out. That was tough. I think as a player, you want to get out there and just get your feet wet and feel comfortable, because you're not. I'm like, you may go out there for a series and it might be all man coverage. Well, the next series might be all zone coverage. Like, you need to get a feel for the flow of the game. Like, how is this offense attacking our defense? Are they taking shots down the field? Like, what sort of offense are they? You have to be in the game to understand what that offense is trying to do. And I just think it'd be really difficult to get into that, like you said, rhythm when you're not out there every snap.
And like when the defense is on the sideline and they're looking at the pictures or looking at video.
Yeah, there's not a lot of downtime for a guy who's playing both ways.
Right.
So there's not time to really do that self-scout evaluation on the sidelines, taking a look at things, because he may get off the field on defense they're just calling his name to go in on, maybe it's a punt return, maybe it's an offensive series. Who knows?
I bring this up just because of Travis Hunter, because I know nobody really cares, but I have the first overall pick in 2 rookie drafts.
Shut up.
Well,
no one cares.
I'm not.
No one cares.
This is why I'm saying. You shut up.
Nobody cares about your fantasy football team.
I am not even considering taking him because I just don't think he's going to play enough on offense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking him as the first overall pick, even though he's going to be the first skill position player drafted.
I'd take Ashton Genty.
Well, depending on what team he ends up on, probably. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just like, I just think in the end,
I would take.
He's not going to play all the time.
Yeah, I'd be getting a guy who's going to play all the time.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Unless you knew he was going to play all the time.
Anyway, all right. We got other Andrew Berry subjects. I think we'll have to save some of them for after we talk to Jason at 12.
We still got 10 minutes till Jason's.
No, I know that, but there's 3 other subjects we got to hit on.
JOK.
We may have to say, let's talk about JOK.
That sucks, man.
I do have the quote here, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and take tag board full here. I wish I had a specific update on Jeremiah. I would say that he's slowly making progress. He's going through all the required medical, and I don't have anything else. It's not a great sign for the rest of his career, I think, right now. Not hearing any more updates, right?
No, this is...
it sucks.
It's terrible.
This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
it sounds like at this point it'd be a surprise if he does play again.
Right.
If you get anything from JOK moving forward, it has to be an extra to what you had expected. Because I don't think it's fair to expect anything from JOK in the immediate future or, frankly, for the rest of his career. Yeah. Anything you get would be incredible, and I hope he makes a speedy recovery and finds his way back, because we talked about it at length, Dustin, before you joined the show, in the 2023 season.
Yeah.
I mean, he was all-pro level linebacker, looked like the flourishing next big star at the position, and one hit
Well,
can
even
change.
at the start of last year before he got hurt.
He was playing really well, too, and then one hit can change everything. But
the thing about
I just don't know how you can expect and count on him when you're building out this roster for 2025.
For all these people that think the Browns should try to win like Philadelphia, which is silly because, first of all, Jalen Hurts is a damn good quarterback, but like Philadelphia does almost everything right, and the Browns do almost everything wrong. So the idea that they're going to build it like Philly is silly. But your best defensive player in the last 2 years is Myles Garrett. He wants to be traded. Now, this is part of the same conversation because Andrew Berry again doubled down on saying, hey, we're not trading him. We're not listening to offers. We're not interested. We'll see. But he wants to be traded. Your second best defensive player, Denzel Ward, got yet another concussion last year and has missed games every season. And your third best player is JOK, who it seems like there's a chance he never plays again. So this idea of winning through defense, well, the rest of your defense is a bunch of guys. Or the people that have made this argument, well, I know the Browns had a bad year last year, but their defense was great 2 years ago. That was an anomaly. A lot of schedule things, and it came together for 1 year. The Browns defense is never going to be that good. And it wasn't great. It was very good, but they fell apart late in the season. They were mediocre last year. And at this point, there's no way the Browns are going to play that high a level defense with what they've got on that side of the ball. I just don't see that being possible.
It's going to be tough, I mean, the talent. We thought the talent was there.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, most likely going to lose Myles Garrett. You know, that's going to be a huge loss to this defense. Who's going to be your leaders?
No idea. If JOK and Myles Garrett are not on the team next year, who's your best player right now in the front seven?
Diabate?
An
Dalvin-
undrafted linebacker that nobody heard of a year
Dalvin
ago?
He's undrafted, doesn't mean anything.
That's fair. That's true.
I mean, I thought he played pretty decent.
He's a nice
last year.
player,
He's a
but
nice
he's just a
player.
guy.
I would not say he's my best player. I mean, if
Tomlinson?
we are,
Dalvin
that's a little
Tomlinson?
a little concerning.
I'm just as concerned if he's your best player in the front seven.
I mean, there's nobody. The rest of their front seven is just guys.
Mike Hall, but he's hurt,
But he's barely played.
and he's hurt. I'm just naming guys now. Like,
Our linebackers are so nondescript.
Yeah. It's a bunch of guys. A bunch of Jags. That's what they have.
It'll probably end up being someone who you draft this year.
Denzel, if you don't have Myles and JOK, your best player on defense is Denzel Ward. Who's your second best overall? Grant Delpit?
Delpit's the second, yeah. And then Newsome and Emerson in some order for 3-4.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound like a
Tough
good
outlook.
defense to me.
Yeah, tough outlook.
So, anyway, so that's the – and now, as I mentioned, Andrew Berry did double down on the Myles Garrett thing. The more he doubles down? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Are you buying it now?
I mean, I think he's saying the right things. I don't think he's going to come out here and just
Right.
tell the world, yeah, we are definitely trading Myles Garrett. It just hurts the Browns in the long run. It loses their leverage. It loses their negotiation power.
Yeah.
I think in a perfect world, they do not trade Myles Garrett. I think at the end of the day, he's being sincere when he says we don't want to trade Myles Garrett. Now, if a team comes
Of
through
course
with
they don't want to.
So I don't think he's lying. I think he's
Yeah.
being honest in the sense that we have no intention of trading Myles Garrett until we get to a point where we physically have to
It's
trade
going to be a
Myles
bad
Garrett.
look for the Browns if this gets ugly because the fans are going to have Myles' side, which is unfortunate. Well, not unfortunate, but it's weird because the player wants out.
Right.
But the team stinks,
Yeah.
and the fan side with the player.
Yeah, although I
In this
think
case.
he lost some people when he did that
He
media
definitely
tour.
did.
at the Super Bowl.
Definitely did.
A lot of fans didn't like that. But, and ultimately, obviously it feels like the Browns have leverage unless he decides to hold out.
Well, that's what I'm.
That's
That's
a total
the
disaster.
concern.
Yes.
I mean, I think that could be a disaster that not just hurts the team's favor with the fans,
Right.
But like holdouts of the best players hurt the locker room.
That's right.
And,
yeah.
and like if you think the team's going to be anything next year, and you think these coaches are going to continue to, have this footing where they're going to be back, dude, that could make everything go downhill. That
Yep.
could get coaches fired.
Yeah.
Plus, if you get, let's say he holds out and then you feel like you're forced to trade him, well, now you missed out on an opportunity to get draft picks this year.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, well, the 26th draft is better anyway, but you don't know that.
You don't know.
You don't know where those picks are going to be.
Everybody says that every year. You probably said
So-
that last year. Oh, the 25 draft's going to be really good.
You want players now. You want young players now, not next year. You'd rather have them now. So,
And if you're Brady, there's no guarantee you're here next year anyway.
Right.
You want those picks to be able to cash them in because you'll be making those picks for sure.
Yeah.
In 26, there's no guarantee that Andrew Berry's the one handing in the card for the Browns.
I don't care what Andrew Berry says, and again, I could be wrong. You never know. They may stand tough. Andrew Berry tried to make it seem like it's a commonplace that players ask for trades. Maybe so. Maybe it happens more often than we think. Not players of his magnitude,
No.
because that story would get out.
Not top 5
So-
players in the NFL. Tyreek Hill's the last guy I can remember
That demanded a trade.
at that level.
Yeah. Myles Garrett, they should trade him before this draft. I mean, it's that simple. You want to get picks now and for next year, but you want to get picks now. And I heard our guy Nick Wilson say the Browns got to get a Herschel Walker type trade. I mean, let's not get carried away. You're not getting any Herschel Walker type trade. But yeah, 2 first-round picks, and a little on top of that, a little gravy on top of that, sure. There's going to be a team willing to do that. You're not getting 3 first-round picks, no. Not for a defensive end. But you'll get 2 probably, and a little change on that. And the Browns got to do it.
Yeah.
They got to do it. They stink. They stink. And I know it seems counterintuitive to say, you're saying they stink, but you want them to trade their best player? Yes, because their best player's pissed. They're probably, not a sure thing, probably not going to be good for a few years. And by the time they get good, Myles Garrett's going to be past his prime.
What'd you take of Andrew Berry's comments on Nick Chubb, saying he's going to test the market and
I mean,
most likely
I
hit
think
the
that
market?
whole thing is wild to me because the Browns have been so steadfast on how much they love him. And, Nick Chubb's was the Players Tribune thing he did last year, talking about the Browns and how, he was worried about, coming back and all these. Like, I don't know, man. I always thought the Browns were going to just give him a sweetheart deal no matter what because they love him. And he's, means a lot to the organization, to the fans, to the locker room. But when I heard him say he's entering free agency, or did he say test free agency maybe?
He's going to reach free agency.
He's going to reach free agency. That was very, very interesting, the wording of that. Because it wasn't like, well, we're working on it. He didn't say that. He didn't say like we're confident we're going to get something done, or like teams say that all the time. They didn't say it in this case. And look, I get it. Like he didn't do much last year that warrants him coming back on a new deal that's lucrative, So going to be interesting, man. The fans are going to be really rowdy, I think, come fall if Nick Chubb's not on the team and Myles Garrett's not on the team.
What if Nick Chubb's wearing a Steelers uniform next year?
Dude,
It'd suck.
Can you imagine?
Man.
It was bad enough with Joe Hayden, who was loved also here in Cleveland.
Yeah, but this dude would be scoring touchdowns in your building. Nick Chubb.
Let me tell you something. The more I thought about this, and I've thought about it a lot since we talked about it earlier this morning, this is a bad job by the Browns because they have paid so much money to so many guys. Mm-hmm. There was part of me that was like, well, maybe Nick Chubb wants to leave. I guess that's possible. So I'll leave that as a possibility. This can't really be about Nick Chubb. He's not an idiot. His representation understands. Nobody's paying Nick Chubb a big guaranteed contract. He's been hurt for 2 years. He's getting older for a running back. He wasn't very good last year when he was healthy. So this is not like, well, the Browns only offered him $3 million and he thinks he can get $8 million. Nobody's paying him $8 million. Nobody's paying him even $5 million, I would think, guaranteed. Maybe he can make that with incentives. The Browns, this guy has been...
The Browns think he's even worth any money?
Maybe they don't. But I just feel like some guys you got to keep, like, as part of the culture of the team.
Yeah.
They don't have many
maybe
guys.
They don't care about that. I mean, the culture's
know,
been shit.
Yeah, but... Yes, that's true.
And it's hard to be a culture changer in the locker room when you're not going out there and rushing for 2,000 yards either.
I get it, but, like, if for nothing else, do it for the fans. It's like the one guy that you lost everybody that's good.
Is there any chance they're going to let Chubb hit the market so he can set his own value, basically, and then come back to Cleveland and say...
I just don't see it that way because, again, unless Nick Chubb's getting crazy with the money, I don't see how this is a money thing. I think they've just decided, they're all about their numbers and the analytics, and I'm a big analytics guy, but this feels like we don't care about the passion, the emotion of the situation. It's only money.
Well, I agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of showing the other side or at least talking it out. What if they have no idea what to pay Nick Chubb? And they say, we have no idea how to value the kind of player you'll be in 2025. Go out in the open market. Find the best offer. We'll match. So you make sure you feel like you got a fair market deal from us and you don't feel like whatever we offer is undercutting what another team would.
I don't buy that.
And he comes back. I don't think it's crazy that it could happen, but I also think at the end of the day, if Nick Chubb's not in a Cleveland Browns uniform next year, the vibes of the entire fan base heading into the season, even with the rookie quarterback, if they draft one at 2, they'll be higher. Like, that'll outweigh losing Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
But instead of just having all the momentum going to the season because we finally have our next savior of the franchise, there will be a step back because it's Nick freaking Chubb.
If he signs for $1.5 million guaranteed with the Steelers, we're going to be like, what, they couldn't have paid him that?
Yeah, it'll be outrage. Outrage.